I realized a year ago I made a video, and in that video I was just like, hey guys, I got a C200. And then I never said anything else about that C200 in an entire year. And that's totally like me to do, but in short, I love the C200. I love what it does, I love the quality, but I'm seriously considering selling this camera. So in this video, I just want to talk about the things I like about the camera, the things I don't necessarily like about the camera, why I'm seriously considering selling this camera, and do I think that anybody should buy the C200 in 2021, 4 years later, with all of the other camera technology out there in the world. So why in the world did I buy a 4-year-old camera? And the landscape of cameras right now, so many other cameras on the market that have better quality, better sharpness, cheaper. Why would I buy a 4-year-old camera? Why, right? And in short, this camera really fit what I do. It really fits what I do. It really does. Back in 2017, when this camera was announced, this was like the dream camera for me. It was like, oh my goodness, I want a C200. I really want to buy one. And I couldn't really justify buying the camera back when it came out. I wasn't making a lot of money shooting music videos at the time. My YouTube didn't really require a C200. I had been doing it totally fine, just filming on my DSLR, my mirrorless camera. So I really couldn't justify dropping the money on the camera. So last year I decided to pull the trigger. I got it for a really good price, and it really lived up to what I do. I film music videos, I film myself on YouTube, and these are two totally different things that I needed a camera to kind of fit both of these profiles. And I don't want to say it's not many cameras that fit these profiles, but it's many cameras that either fit YouTube really well or really fit filming client work really well. So I'm a one-man crew. I film pretty much everything that I'm doing on my own or with a very small crew. So I don't want to have a huge cinema camera like a red Monstro kitted out with V-mount batteries and Teradeks and all of these things like this, because these are systems that require you to use a whole lot of other people in order to use it in the most efficient way. But at the same time, I really do like cinema quality things. I also really do like cinema features, because I feel like a lot of the cinema features fit the way I like to work, and it actually makes it more efficient. So I'm a one-man crew, and I feel like the C200 really fits that well. The first aspect of that is autofocus. When I was just filming music videos, or I was doing a lot of music videos and a little bit of YouTube, I love the GH series, the GH4, the GH5. They're small, really good quality, affordable. They have speed boosters, which allows you to use Canon lenses, which I had a ton of at the time. They have variable frame rates, really good bit depth. They were just incredible cameras to film music videos on. For YouTube, totally different story. When you're filming yourself, you need autofocus, and the autofocus in those cameras was pretty much non-existent or just flat out unreliable. So those cameras are great for that, right? Then I had like a 6D, which was incredible for filming myself. Really good quality, took really nice photos. But on the filming side of things, it didn't have good bit depth. It didn't have a log profile at all. So it's just like you see these lines blurred between the two, and the C200 fits right in the middle. Has that quality, it has that raw, it's able to do really good autofocus. I know if I turn this camera on myself, the autofocus is gonna stick on me, and it also has a feature which allows the focus plane to just stay if it loses my face, which is incredible. I don't use it much, but I mean, that's a good plus. Another thing that's really incredible about the C200 is the quality. And I'm not talking about sharpness. I'm not talking about emphasizing the outlines on things that are in focus like a lot of these DSLRs do. It's a significant difference between sharpness and detail. And the C200 has a lot of detail and not much sharpness, which I really enjoy. I don't like overly sharpened images. I don't like emphasis on facial blemishes, things like that. The C200 has a lot of depth. And when I talk about quality, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about detail. I'm talking about dynamic range. I know that if I'm filming a dynamic scene on this camera and I use the raw, the sky's gonna be exposed well. The shadows are gonna be exposed well. I can manipulate this image a lot, has a lot of bit depth. That's what I'm talking about when I say quality. The quality on this camera is flat out incredible. The raw recording is just great. I know if I even semi blow out some highlights, I'll be able to pull those back in post. And I can't say that for a lot of the DSLR mirrorless cameras that I'm using nowadays. Yeah, they're getting really good. They're getting better. They're getting a lot better, actually. But this camera right here, I feel like it's just in a whole other league than all of the other DSLR and mirrorless cameras that I've been using personally. Another thing I really like about this camera that adds to the efficiency of using it is the built-in ND filters. I don't have to think about bringing an ND filter and slapping that on the front of my lens and using that and having potential color shifts, any of that. I just flip a button, ND goes on, I'm able to keep that consistent exposure throughout a 180-degree shutter. It's just great, man. Having built-in ND filters is really one of those game-changing features that once you have it and you use it, you don't want to go back to not using it, man. I don't even have to think about bringing ND filters with me, and I love that. So those are the few things that have just really been incredible using this camera. It's a ton of other things like how customizable it is. Having all those buttons over there on the side and just knowing, okay, I don't really have to go into the menu. I know if I hit this button on the side, it'll pull up what I needed to do. It's great, man. I really like this camera a lot. But I want to talk about the things that I don't like. But before I get into that, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Storyblocks. Throughout this video, you may have noticed the really cool animated titles that I've been using. And I got these from Storyblocks. Storyblocks is an online platform with tons of stock assets, high quality stock footage, After Effects and Apple motion templates, as well as motion backgrounds. I really like Storyblocks because of the unlimited plan. You can download an unlimited amount of these assets and use them however you like in any of your projects because they're royalty free when you sign up for an unlimited plan. Unlimited downloads, unlimited uses, it's just incredible and you can't beat it. Storyblocks is also pushing the initiative to add diversity into the stock asset market by adding all sexes, races, and genders in their stock asset library. And as a Black creator, I absolutely love that. It's down in the description. If you guys want to check out Storyblocks, I highly recommend it. There's going to be a link. If you support diversity, you need some stock footage for your projects, you need some stock assets, some After Effects templates, some motion backgrounds, make sure to check out Storyblocks. You can't beat it. Link down in the description. Let's talk about the things I don't like about this camera. A big one is I just don't need RAW. I think that we think that we need all of this latitude in our footage. We want the highest possible bit depth. We want the sharpest quality. We want the most powerful image possible. But throughout using this camera over the past year, I realized I don't need RAW. If you don't know anything about the C200, it has a 12-bit RAW codec, which is Canon Cinema Raw Light, I believe. It's incredible, has tons of dynamic range. It has tons of bit depth. It's incredible. Footage looks great. Then on the opposite side of it, they have 8-bit footage, which is not that great. It's nothing in the middle to meet, man. I feel like I don't need RAW, but I'm definitely not gonna use 8-bit if I'm gonna film on this camera. You either go big or you go home, and I'm definitely not going to the crib, so I'm always filming RAW. You film RAW, you gotta take into consideration that these file sizes are freaking massive, and who wants massive file sizes when you don't need them? So I'm in that boat, but I do still film RAW pretty much every single time I use this camera, and that sucks. I don't need it. I film RAW, I convert it over to ProRes, and then I hop into my editing program and start chopping. So I don't need RAW. That's the biggest flaw in this camera, man. I don't want the small codec, but I don't want the big one either. If we can meet in the middle, that would be incredible. The second one is the size of the camera. This is a positive and a negative. On the handheld side of things, I love using this camera. It adds a nice natural rock and shake and handheld motion when you're filming handheld. But man, I can't get this thing on a gimbal. It won't go on a Ronin M because of the viewfinder I have on my model. And I tried to put this on a Movi one time and it almost broke my freaking back. So the size of this thing is terrible. And it sucks, man, because I haven't been able to use this for gimbal work at all. But at the same time, it's kind of horrendous for traveling as well. And this is one of the reasons why I haven't yet traveled with my C200 to film any sort of music video projects. I've just been hiring other people in different places who have cinema cameras, which I've actually been enjoying a lot. I want to talk about that a little bit at the end of this video, just the ideal of hiring people who can DP for you. That is incredible. So the size is something that I definitely don't like about this camera. It's a win, it's a negative, but if I were able to go big when I needed to go big and then go small when I didn't, that would be great. I can do that, but it just doesn't go small enough. So those are the things I don't like about this camera. These are the reasons why I really want to sell this camera. The biggest one, and it's gonna really tie into the other reasons, is the C70's out. It's crazy. It's like when I bought this camera, the C70 was announced like a week later. And it's just like, dang, the C70 kind of fits me so much more in the things that I need and the things that I really don't like about this camera. This camera's incredible. And a lot of the things that I don't like about it are nitpicky, but at the same time, I need a camera that fits me and what I do. And the C70 fits what I do a lot more. And you'll see once I talk about the other reasons why I want to sell it. I don't need RAW. I talked about it. I don't use RAW. I don't adjust my white balance in post. I don't adjust my ISO in post. I get it right on set. I don't need the RAW capabilities. I like RAW because it has that higher bit depth, but I don't need all of the other things about it. So if I can meet in the middle, get that 10-bit or even like a 12-bit codec, that would be incredible. But I don't need the cinema RAW light. The file sizes are massive, and the C70 does the 10-bit that I need. Another thing is the usability aspect. A lot of the times I have other people filming me for YouTube content or doing behind the scenes things, and this camera isn't the most user-friendly. I know everything about the C200. I know where to go to in the menu to select what I need. I know how to adjust my white balance. I know how to adjust my shutter angle. I know how to do everything inside of the camera. But people who have never used this camera do not know how to do any of these things, and that's massive. And it sucks because I want this quality, but I don't want to bombard people with the complexity of using a cinema camera. And in the C70, they've implemented the touchscreen, quick access for a lot of the features that is very similar to like the Canon DSLR line, which is great. I can hand a C70 to somebody who's used pretty much any other Canon DSLR camera, and they'll be right at home and they'll know exactly what's happening. Whereas with the C200, this is like rocket science to people who have never used a cinema camera, one, or if you've never used a Canon camera, it's gonna be like, oh my goodness, I don't know what's happening. So usability aspect is something that's huge. I talked about size. I haven't used the gimbal in so long. I don't know if it's because I don't really like gimbal stuff like that, or it's just because I want to want to use my C70 and this can't go on a gimbal pretty much at all anyways. So it's just like, man, those are the reasons why I really want to get a C70. It's not because of quality. It's not because the C70 is sharper. It's not even because the C70 can do more. It's more so just because it's smaller, it has smaller files, and it's also more user-friendly. Pretty much all things that will make my workflow more efficient. And those are the things that I'm looking at when I'm trying to switch to a camera system. I don't care about how sharp the camera is. I really don't care too much about frame rates and things like that either. Like, I'm either gonna film 24 frames per second or 60 frames per second. 120 frames per second is cool, but I don't really care too much for all the other gimmicks. And the C70 is just like, yo, this will be more efficient. I'll be able to produce faster. I won't have the hassle of the huge file sizes. And these are the things that I think about when I'm thinking about switching cameras. I don't really care like, yo, this is sharper, which I did at one point, but at this point in my career, it doesn't matter, bro. Everything looks good. So those are the reasons why I'm seriously considering selling this camera. So in 2021, should you buy a C200? I think that this is like, obviously a subjective question. I think that if you can find a C200 for a great price, absolutely, this camera is still incredible. The footage is still great. The raw quality is incredible. The 4K 60 frames per second. Everything about this camera, man, the colors that come out of it, you drop a conversion light on the C200 footage, it is just crispy straight out the gate. You have to do minimal and color grading, man. I'm telling you, yo, you use this camera, the quality and the colors will really shock you. So if you can find it for a good price, I would say yes. At full price, I'm gonna say no, because the majority of people don't need RAW. The majority of people can go get a C70 and be able to use SD cards, which are a lot cheaper. You won't have to invest in the CFast, which is super expensive still. And you just won't have a camera that's outdated in terms of usability and features. So this camera's great, absolutely love it. I do think that it's a bit overkill with the RAW and it's no codec in the middle. I think that like the C70 and even like Sony's competitor, what is it, like the FX6, are just like Those are like the best cinema cameras for people in like our realm, people who are looking to get into the cinema camera game, but they don't want to spend a ton of money on like Reds or like Aries or things like that. These cameras are incredible. They produce really great images. They're user friendly. They're small. And on top of that, man, the media solution is great. You don't need all of these other things. And it's just like, yo, if you need to go super high on like Monstro or like Ari, just hire somebody, man, on the projects where it makes sense. If you got that extra money, pay the people who own the camera, who are great at using it. You don't need to own all these things. So for me, man, I really think I will get a C70 and I'll sit there for a really long time, but this camera's great, yo. Everything about it is incredible. All of the complaints that I have about it are just efficiency, workflow things that I have gotten around for a year. And I'm totally stoked and happy to use this camera every time I turn it on. So it's not like, yo, I absolutely need to sell it. It's just like, man, I kind of want to speed things up, and I'm not gonna lie. So that's what it's been like using a 4-year-old cinema camera, 2021 filming music videos and YouTube content. It's been great. It's been incredible. If you're thinking about it, if you can find one for a really cheap, good price, definitely jump on it, man. I might end up selling this, so stay tuned. Follow me on Instagram. I might post it up somewhere for a really good price. And this could be your next dream camera, man. But let me know down in the comment section. Are you even into cinema cameras? Do you think cinema cameras have any benefit? Do you think that you're more on the line of like DSLR mirrorless things? I know for the hybrid shooters, that's gonna make a lot more sense for people. But man, something about cinema cameras, bro, it's just like great. The colors that come out, the usability, it's just great. So let me know down in the comment section. I would love to know. If you're new to the channel, you like content like this, consider hitting that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, dropping a like. I'm out, y'all, though. Peace.